Good evening, everyone. Let's call the meeting to order at 6:02. And we have a couple of items on the agenda. We're going to start with the reviewing section 5.11, which is developmental rate limitations. Anybody have any comments, concerns, questions as it relates to 5.111?
This is just a safeguard just to prevent overdevelopment within the town, right? And in 5.11.3, the review says every 5 years, the planning board is supposed to review this. And I assume that's to make sure maybe we want that type of development. I assume that's why that paragraph is in there. You know, if it was one is to protect the town from overdevelopment and protect services that we have. And the limitation of building permits is what, 36?
Correct.
Yeah, so I mean, I've been here 35 years. I don't recall ever having that big a build out unless someone else, Bill, Marshall, I mean, have you, in the last 30 years, have we had anything like that?
I think probably the biggest build out was on Whitney Drive.
Yep.
I think when that, and I don't know how many houses that was. Now there's a new proposal that goes forward there that's actually got 46 houses in it. And I don't know if you're all aware. What's that, Walt?
I said that's the current 41. That was in the preliminary plan.
Okay.
46, 47 houses. And that, and then of course, 20%, dwelling units allowed per year is 20%. I guess it's basically saying that has to take 5 years to build. I mean, I guess I'm not understanding all of the restrictions of this. I can tell you that 511.3, which says planning board's supposed to review this every 5 years. Well, I haven't been on the planning board for 5 years, but I would, bet a considerable sum of money that the planning board in the last 5 years hasn't looked at this section or thought about it or figured it out at all. And it's the kind of thing that I think it needs to be very strategically thought about by the town, not just the planning board and probably the board of selectmen as well, as to what should be our strategy given, the size of our town and the developable properties that we have. It seems that, I guess I'm saying that 36 as defined in this seems like it's pretty arbitrary. And I don't know if it's the right number or the wrong number. It could be too high, it could be too low. And it could, and so, my reaction to this was, I didn't have any direct, but it just raised a lot. I'm just not sure I have an opinion on this. And the last section, special development, it seems to need a lot more definition. I read that a couple times and couldn't figure out what good it was. So anyway.
I think that this thing would lose in court if someone said,
Thank you.
hey, I want to.
Yeah. I mean, how can we tell the development, if I'm reading it correctly, development schedule, how can we tell him, well, we're saying it's okay to develop this subdivision on Whitney Drive with 47 units, but you're only allowed to develop 20% of them at a year, that the developer has to be there for 5 years. I think you're right, Sarah. I don't know. I don't know if it has any teeth or if it's.
I think it's got to go, and we need to rethink if we want some sort of limitation. Then I think we should start from scratch. I mean, not necessarily scratch, but I don't know that there's much here that makes sense.
Yeah, I thought 11.2 is confusing.
Walt, did the Attorney General approve this bylaw?
Attorney General has to approve all bylaws.
Yeah.
Oh, so the state looked this bylaw over and said, yeah, that's okay.
Yeah.
I don't know when.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, no, it at some point in time, I think that's certainly that's the procedure now. I would have thought that that would have been the procedure back then, but so let me ask you all a question. Have any of you heard anything about the draft plan that's out from the MBTA as far as development goes?
Yes.
So just to kind of bring everybody up to speed, there was some legislation that was passed, and what they're trying to do is they're trying to encourage development around transit stations. And there's a map that's been drawn that there's 4 different levels of your community gets assigned one of 4 different levels. Well, Ashburnham is considered an MBTA community, and we're considered an MBTA adjacent community. So what they're asking us and everybody else to do is to declare a contiguous 50-acre parcels of property in the town of Ashburnham for potential development. And they're not saying you have to build it, but you're supposed to be able to provide the location and the wherewithal to do it. And the conditions are that it can't take any special permits. It can't have any age restrictions. There's multiple things that you can't do. It's just, and it's a matter of right that they get to build these things. And so it's in draft form right now that we spent a fair amount of time talking about it at a select board meeting today. So Ashburnham's minimum number of housing units, that includes condos, townhouses, things like that. The minimum number for us is 750 units. So that begs the question, where the hell do you put that? And if that were to ever get built out, it would dramatically change the character of the town, services, schools. It would turn this place upside down. So there's been a number of seminars that people have been to, and there's a lot of pushback happening on this, but it is in fact a reality that we're going to have to deal with in not too distant future. And what they're saying is, if you don't approve this, then we're not going to give you access to some pretty big state funding. That's the carrot and the stick that they're using. So this, I think, in light of that, actually takes on some more importance, because they're already trying to develop strategies, some of the communities, about, okay, yeah, you can build. And now in our case, it's 750. Other communities, it's as many as 3,000 units. So yeah, you can build them, but they're already talking about how many roadblocks they can put in the way to make it undesirable for a developer, that they just say, oh, the hell with it's not worth it. You know, we're just going to walk away. So again, it's an ongoing thing. We're supposed to get back to them, I think, by May 2nd with some sort of or maybe May 3rd with the initial comments. But anyway, I just want to throw that out there so everybody has some background on it. I don't expect we're going to discuss it tonight, but there is something going on out there for sure.
Yeah, and it struck me that the whole development of the downtown area on the new, forget about MBTA community, even those different scenarios that the consultants came up with about what we could do with the DPW lot downtown, and how that could potentially expand. That would make this clause would be an obstacle to that kind of development in a timely manner. You could do it over time, of course, but to do it in a timely manner, just like the Whitney Drive, to do that in a timely manner is handicapped by this clause as it's done. Now, you can give special permits, but I don't know.
So apparently
I think-
this was part of what Bill was explaining, was that you have to make this not require special permits.
That's right.
So
It
I'm
has to
wondering
be
how
as
this
of right.
legislation affects our rate of development bylaw. Maybe it's another thing that takes teeth away from it.
Could somebody explain what 11.4 validity, what that clause even means? I mean, I'm asking seriously. I don't even understand it.
I think it's it's just trying to preserve the enforceability of one section if something else is found to be not valid or enforceable. I figured it was a cover your butt kind of thing.
Okay, all right.
You know, to be honest, I mean, you could tack that on to any provision. Why it's here and not on, you know,
Yeah.
all the others is debatable.
I think it's in multiple sections. I think,
Right, yeah.
But if it's not on every single section, you know, I think it's something that if you're gonna do it, you need to do it up front.
it makes sense to just have it at the beginning.
To make it a general provision.
Yeah.
Yeah. I have to make notes to myself because I won't remember what I did 15 minutes ago or 15 minutes from now. So, okay, so I put a note on there about general provisions. So again, there's nothing we're going to do with it tonight. I suppose when they put this together, you know, they were trying to control the rate of growth of the town. And I don't know if it's come into play ever, but it's certainly something that we'll have to take a hard look at. And
I kind of doubt Whitney Drive was limited to 20 units a year. If they, I don't know how many were in it, but say hypothetically there were 30 houses. Would they really only have been able to put up 6 houses a year? If we were under the 36 units per year limit, this just seems weird.
No,
I personally think the whole thing's illegal.
I think it is.
well, I'm wondering if under section C there, where they talk about special development, if that was the out to be able to give somebody the capabilities to build at a higher rate. Maybe that's the fallback position that they were able to do that.
Well, I still think, you know, it's zoned this, it's zoned that, you know, I'm coming in and I want to do such and such. What do you mean I can't
Right.
comply with the zoning ordinance and build whatever I darn well want to? I think it's illegal.
particularly what you, if when you consider how many hoops you have to jump through just to do a subdivision. I mean, so, you know, even before they get to actual construction, the town, they have to bring the plan, we have to have the site review, it has to be accepted by the town at a town meeting. It's just all this, and then you're gonna accept it at a town and tell them they can only build 20% a year, and it's gonna take you 5 years to build. No, they can't do that.
I don't think so.
No.
I think it's bogus.
So that's what that's the magic word, Bill, in your notes. Just write bogus for 5
I'm going to do that, Walt. I'm going to highlight it too. Okay. Anybody got anything else on that little gem? Okay, then let's jump on to 5.12, which is adult entertainment establishments. Anybody got anything on that they'd like to share with us?
You know, first off, I think the purpose is clumsily written, but I understand it. When it comes down to the spacing requirements of 1,000 feet, okay, that might be somewhat arbitrary. Then, of course, you've already taken out the downtown, but you list all these places that can't be next. It seemed like section B, do we even need it? It seems like section B is a long-winded way of saying that if the Board of Appeals wants to reduce it to 750 feet, they can. And then I would say, well, why would we want to do that? You know, just if you come up with a distance, that's the distance, period, end of conversation. And you tell somebody you you don't propose such an establishment unless you can meet these requirements. And then one of the requirements is you got to be 1,000 feet away.
This came up with not adult entertainment, but with marijuana at Evocana, I believe. Didn't they
Mhm.
need a special permit to be a certain distance from the playground? And there was a compelling reason, the building was already there.
Yeah.
So
Sarah, they needed a variance for that.
I was okay. Sorry.
I don't, but you're talking about, okay, so you're saying it's, the distance is 1,000 feet, but you can get a variance to reduce it by just 250 feet. And I'm just sort of thinking, for adult entertainment, I probably would have said the same about marijuana or whatever, just set the distance. Or write it not with a specific 750 feet you can reduce it to, but give the zoning board of appeals, the ability to give a variance for if you can meet, if there are these certain conditions that warrant a variance, whatever that might be. That was my reaction to it.
It does seem a little odd, but I'm not bothered by it. I don't think there's any permanent staying either.
I just thought it was a lot of redundancy and not necessary, but
It's bulk, that's for
Yeah.
sure.
it's bulk. Yeah, it makes you look like you're smart.
Well then, heck, let's leave that in there. I need all the help I can get.
Yeah. I thought, for example, in 5.12.5 B1, I felt B1 probably should be moved up to 5.12. Should be moved up more towards the, one of the spacing requirements or whatever, because it's sort of, I thought it was just out of place. The other ones I thought were fine.
Well, let me ask you this general question. In light of the project that we're undertaking, how far is this up? Is this on anybody's list of things to worry about? Is it anywhere near the top?
To me, it's low priority. Yeah.
Okay,
I mean,
that's
other than to clean it up, for example, 5.12.5 line 4, B4, isn't that in our signage bylaws? I mean, no adult
Oh,
entertainment.
the flashing lights thing?
Yeah, isn't that covered by our signage bylaw? So this is the kind of, it's just redundancy that I think could be cleaned up, but I would put it low priority. I shouldn't interrupt, other people might feel differently.
I find it a little weird that they're not allowed in a building containing other retail uses. I mean, like an adult bookstore can't be in a strip mall with other stuff.
Good point, good point.
I just find it a little burdensomely restrictive. Not that I'm a big fan of such establishments, but it seems a little weird.
Are they also saying under 5.124B, number 5, that it can't be on the ground level, so it's got to be on the second floor?
All times.
5.124B.
One.
What?
Number 5, no portion of the establishment shall be located on the ground level of any building. So if you can't climb the stairs, you can't get in.
I'm sorry, Joe,
Oh, you're on B5, okay.
B5.
No point.
That is weird. I missed that.
Yeah.
that's bizarre.
I think, yeah.
That's written just to say you can't do this. You'll need to put in an
Yeah,
elevator.
well,
to build
you
it.
wouldn't be ADA compliant.
You would need an elevator.
Yeah,
And
exactly.
that's making it not feasible to build because it's just economically out of the.
Yeah, I mean, that makes no sense.
it's
Okay,
right in
Dave.
it. it's trying to keep them out without keeping them
Yeah,
out.
that's just.
Hey, Dave, I want to hear Dave's opinion. Dave was involved in writing some of these things. So tell us, was that your intent all along? You just wanted to make it impossible for him to do it. So you wrote a bylaw.
I wasn't on the committee that wrote this one, Walt.
Yeah, yeah.
I would guess by reading this, that the authors of it felt as though there had to be something in there, and they wanted to make it as restrictive as possible. I mean, from reading this, it's obvious the authors did not want this to happen in the town of Ashburnham.
I think that's a good assessment. Anybody else got anything on this one? I mean, I've made some notes on it, but
Honestly, with the internet, I don't think there's a high risk of any of this
yeah,
anyway, because people don't need to go to stores anymore. And the odds of having a peep show open up or something like that, like just.
Yeah.
okay.
Okay.
All right, then that covers the two sections that we're going to work on tonight. There's, does anybody have anything under new business that they want to talk about? I've got a little bit of an update on general code, but I'll defer to see if anybody else has anything.
I just wanted to say that I did talk to Brian about the marijuana use cafes, and he was in agreement with us, what we had discussed, that it was geared more towards Worcester, Lowell, Springfield, maybe, that Ashburnham most likely wouldn't qualify for getting any help from the state to do that. But I did, in talking to Brian, I said that I didn't think it would be a bad idea that when we get to the process and the point of our goal to start rewriting some of the bylaws, that when we get to the marijuana bylaws, I think that it probably would be in our best interest if we tried to incorporate some kind of regulations about a marijuana cafe. It might not come in front of the town for another 5 or 10 years, but eventually it is going to be legal, and it probably wouldn't be a bad idea if we had something in our bylaws to address that if and when it does come in front of us.
All right, that's good information, Dave. Thanks for reaching out and checking with Brian on that. Anybody else have anything?
Only with respect to minutes.
Okay, let's hold off on that, and we'll jump to that after. I reached out to Carolyn Yetto at General Code, who was the person that we dealt with initially. She was a salesperson, if you will. She is no longer with the company. She did call me back and tell me that, and she was most helpful. And she put me in touch with the national sales manager, Scott Murphy, I think his name is. And I've been in contact with him and told him what we were looking for. So he sent me over a half a dozen, maybe 8 PowerPoint slides that talk about general code and in the recodification process, things like that. And then I asked him to send me some more information as it related to their E360 code, how it works. So I'm not going to bore you with the details of that right now, but at some point in time, I'll send those over to everybody, those PowerPoint slides. We'll take a look at it. My thought is we maybe take 1 or 2 of those out of there and condense it and just give a real easy 5-minute PowerPoint presentation in town meeting that, says, we put this committee to do this, we got a grant, we went out and hired this company, we're in the process of doing it. This is the first step. Here's what it does, what the long-term implications are, and how it's going to work going forward. Rah, 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 please vote for this, and then we're done. So I do have that in my possession. So I'll start working on that and I'll get that out well in advance of town meetings so that we'll collectively decide how we're going to present that. Is everybody okay with that?
Yep.
Okay. All right, then let's, if nobody's got anything else, then let's jump on to approval of minutes. Marshall, what do you got there?
Well, we have actually, lo and behold, the minutes of November 18th, which never occurred. So I'm sure you all remember it well.
I do, yeah.
And it was a stellar meeting, as I'm sure you all recall. So,
Remember it like it was yesterday.
well, exactly. So I will make a motion then to approve the meeting minutes of November 18th, 2021.
All right, moved in. Who wants to second that?
I'll second it.
All right, Walt Meisner is going to second that. Any discussion on those meeting minutes? Hearing none. I'll call the roll. Bill Johnson, yes. Walt Meisner,
Yes.
Marshall Dennis,
Yes.
Dave Perry,
Yes,
Glenn Hathaway.
Yes.
All right, thank you. So the motion carries. So thanks for picking up on that, Marshall. That was a good catch.
All right. And then I did send out meeting minutes today for the February 8th
Yeah.
meeting, but you may not have time to, take a peek at those.
I've looked them over. Has anybody else looked at them?
I did. I'm looking at them now too. I'll make the motion to approve these minutes.
Is there a second?
Glenn Hathaway, I second.
All right, moved and seconded. Any discussion on the meeting minutes of February 10? Hearing none. We'll call the roll. Bill Johnson, yes. Walt Meisner,
Yes.
Marshall Dennis,
Yes.
Dave Perry,
yes,
Glenn Hathaway.
Yes.
Okay, that takes care of that.
We're up to date.
And go ahead.
No, I'm just saying we're up to date.
All right, perfect. So that I think is going to conclude the festivities for tonight. We'll get out of school early tonight to make up for some of the overruns that we've had.
a
So
half day.
half day, it's right, snow day, whatever. So our next meeting is going to be March 3rd. So I will get, well, actually, we should talk about that. So I think next up is just the open space development, right?
Yeah.
Because that's
That's
going to
pretty-
consume probably the whole meeting.
Yeah, that's a big one.
Oh, my God.
Bless you. Yeah, so 5.13, open space residential development. So we in agreement that we're just going to tackle that and that's it?
That's a big one.
Okay, perfect. All right, then,
And I assume everybody got the note that I passed on to everybody.
Yes, I did.
Happy as having something at
For the record, I've kind of looked at it already and, I think warrants consideration.
Yeah.
Maybe not de facto, but, I think it's something we should consider.
Well, I hope they record the meeting because I'm not of a mind to want to spend any more time on this stuff today, but
come on, Walt.
yeah.
I know.
I was hoping someone would fall on their sword and watch it and then give us a summary.
Yeah, well, if they record it, maybe I will.
So I've already invested 5.5 hours in meetings with the select board today. So this will make it 6. So I think I've done my duty for the day. So it will not be me that will be watching that. And but if somebody wants to, I'm sure if it's a Zoom meeting, I think they have to record it. So I'm sure that they'll make that available at some point in time. So okay, then I will make a motion that we adjourn the meeting. Would someone be interested in seconding that?
Glenn
I'll second
Hathaway,
that.
second.
All right, Glenn Hathaway, second. I'll call the roll. Bill Johnson, yes. Walt Meisner,
Yes.
Marshall Dennis,
Yes.
Dave Perry,
Yes,
Glenn Hathaway.
Yes.
All right,
Okay.
the motion carries.
Can I say
Enjoy
something,
the
Sarah?
evening, folks. Thanks very much.
Quick something to Sarah.
Oh, go ahead.
Sarah, on your email about Lake Haven determination letter, that line that you had issues with, that was written by Deb, not by me. So just for the record, that was her. And let's
It
see,
just makes no sense to me.
let's see how she responds to it. So,
Okay. Did
okay.
she write the
Thank
typo
you.
too, or was that?
Yeah. That I don't know. I'll have to double, I didn't touch it all. I just changed a few parts of what she sent me. So that's where we got. All right.
All right, we'll see what she says.
Yep. Talk to you all later.
Okay, folks, have a great night.
All right,
Bye-bye.
thank you. Yep.
Good night.